Kevin Griffin of Better Than Ezra and my paths have crossed numerous times over the years. In fact, it started way back in 1996 when we were signing on a brand new radio station in New Orleans, and we played their song King of New Orleans over and over and over again.
They played it for 24 hours.
Dude, that's how I got to New Orleans, was 106.7 The End.
Yeah.
That was how I ended up here. And then it was like hanging out with you guys. It seemed like you were in and out of the station all the time. And it was it was a magical time. With music was so big in 96. Like the alternative world was just bam. And I know you guys started off, early 90s, but you were in the middle of that ride, right?
It was great, and music was still, physical albums were really big. Radio was big. The only way you could hear new songs was radio. Internet didn't exist, streaming didn't exist. Younger people listen more to the radio and music than they do now because video games and TikTok is so compelling. There's music, you get exposed to music on TikTok, obviously, but it was just different. So I love now. I'm embracing now, and there's so many opportunities now, but it was awesome. Coming out of the 90s and having that heyday was a gift. And I love those memories. They were just crazy great times.
And speaking of memories, I think you're going to fire up a few of them here in New Orleans, May 5th and 6th. You guys are at the House of, and you're at the House of Blues and this is cool what you're doing, man. You got like one night is what, an all request type of thing?
One night is all request, and Live Nation that's doing that, or Ticketmaster just sent out, an email to everybody to give your requests in. And we were like, well, why is Ticketmaster doing it? And they're like, well, if you do it on your socials, then everybody who's, people who aren't coming to the show will request. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm simple. But it made sense, Jason. So the night one, the Friday night, the 5th, is all requests. And we have Dash Rip Rock opening. We're so fired up. And then Saturday night, Gibson Guitars is having a Gibson night. We're doing a meet and greet before the show. We're going to be giving away some Gibson guitars from the stage. And it's Better Than Ezra and Friends. So we have some different special guests that are going to be playing at Jazz Fest and that are in town who are going to get up on the stage with us and do some songs. So we're really fired up. It's going to be the Saturday night show is going to be special. There's going to be some magical moments, and also some flying by the seat of our pants kind of things, because learning a song that day.
You know what? For a guy like you who's been doing it for a couple of minutes now, isn't that half the fun though? Is that fly by the seat of your pants? I mean, look.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably still, it's amazing probably to stand up there and play good and all your hits. I'm sure it's a wonderful thing, but there's that freshness that comes to, hey, we're doing what now? Holy shit.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, we started off in Baton Rouge as a cover band. We had a couple of originals, but we cut our teeth playing party songs, 80s and 90s alt party, hits, and then classic party songs. So we come from a tradition, and so many of the greatest bands, started off with covers. Look, you go see the Foo Fighters, it's going to be 25% covers, so we love learning new songs and wearing a different hat and then supporting people on stage who are joining us. So yeah, I like the challenge. I'm always learning new songs. Like, I'm really into alternate guitar tunings right now because all the Ezra songs are standard tuning.
Right.
So now I've been learning all these Smith songs that are these crazy tunings and old Led Zeppelin and stuff. So I'm kind of rediscovering, it's no coincidence that Gibson is sponsoring the Saturday night show. My wife works for Gibson. She's an executive there. And so now I'm getting a lot of Gibson guitars that are just showing up, Jason. I've got this new Gibson 355 custom shop, black with gold hardware and a big speed that I'm going to be melting faces May 5th and 6th at the House of Blues in the Quarter and Dakota.
when you get your list, okay, you're gonna get all of your songs sent to you, and you're gonna be like, okay, is it? You think there'll be surprises on there? You think you're gonna get that one group that's gonna go, let's get some really weird deep cuts in there. Let's see if we can slide a couple of those crazy songs in there.
Yeah, well, Ezra fans have always done this. Ezra fans will get together and they conspire. The Ezralites.
Oh, I love it.
They'll come up with some songs. Look, and we've been guilty of saying, hey, we've said, hey, it's an all request show, but for some reason you guys requested the same songs we always play. But we're not doing that. No, we're already learning some songs we know they're going to be requested, some old deep cuts, and they're fun for us because I get to go back and listen to those songs, and I'm like, oh, when you go listen to some songs you play all the time, you rediscover that you discover that you're playing them wrong. Like, oh, I've just started playing. I've just kind of slowly gotten into playing it a certain way that's not like the album. There's some songs on the Friction Baby album that we recorded at Kingsway, right there in the quarter at Charters, or is it Royal and Esplanade? And man, when I solo up some tracks, I hear those rooms, those haunted rooms of Count Arnaud's mansion there that was Kingsway. So it takes me right back to New Orleans. There's so much in New Orleans in this band. House of Blues, we hold the record for the most sellouts of any band there, and so HOB on Decatur is very special to us.
I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like backstage, and I'm not giving out industry secrets here, there's a big wall with band names, and they get little hash marks under each time you sell out. And every time I go back there to introduce a band, I'm like, and there it is, look at Better Than Ezra.
Well, there's two different ones because they ran out of room. So there's one that's all full, and there's another one. And it'll be our name will be next to Robert Plant. Now, yes, we're from New Orleans, so we have an unfair advantage, but I'm not gonna excuse my French. Did I say the F word? You can beat that, right?
Maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that.
We'll see what happens.
Let me talk about where you're located, what you've been doing the last little bit. Actually, quite a while now. You've relocated to a place where there seems to be a lot of music coming out of in Nashville, right?
I live in Nashville. After Katrina, I was already going to make a move because around 2005, I was writing so much with different artists and having success doing that. And I was either going to move to Nashville or LA. And when Katrina happened, we had to leave the city. We were in San Antonio, and then we moved to LA. And then in 2011, I was doing so much work in Nashville, and I already kind of saw that Nashville was going to be the next musical city. I flew over here and I saw the place that I ended up buying in Franklin, Tennessee. And it's just awesome. So I've lived here, gosh, as long as I lived in New Orleans, which was 13 years. And it's amazing. And so, my days consist of, I started a music festival up here, Pilgrimage Music Festival. We had our night we're about to have our 9th year in September. We've had artists ranging from Beck to Justin Timberlake to Foo Fighters to The Killers, Lumineers. It's September 23rd and 24th. It's the Lumineers, Zach Bryan, the Black Crowes, Head in the Heart, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. It's going to be dope and Better Than Ezra. And then, man, I've just been writing songs. I've got some country hits right now. And today, Jason, is a big day because I have my debut book that comes out today. I wrote a book and it's out today. The book and the Audible book and the soundtrack to the book is out. It's a big day, big day.
Dude, what's the name of the book? Okay,
it's called The Greatest Song.
Okay, tell me a little about this book.
So the book, I started. This is crazy. 6 years ago, it was about 3 a.m. and I was at F&M Patio Bar on Chapatulas. And nothing good happens at 3 a.m. at F&M's.
The cheese fries is the only good thing at 3 a.m.
Oh, my God, right? This one time, though, I ran into a buddy, and he was with a business group of people, and they'd hired a speaker. It was Malcolm Gladwell, famous Malcolm Gladwell, Tipping Point, and all that, and down to New Orleans to speak for him. And he goes, "Man, would you ever want to speak?" And to our group in Dallas, I was like, "Yeah." So 3 months later, I went and spoke to them, and I spoke to them about what the creative things I do to stay competitive and successful and inspired in my life and in business. and that those things, whether you're in music or you're an entrepreneur or a lawyer or a baker or a dentist or whatever it is, it all applies. And then 2 years ago, I started writing a book, and it's fictional. It's called A Business Parable. Remember, have you ever read books like Who Moved My Cheese or Rich Dad Poor Dad or any of those?
Of course.
And I wrote a book like that, man. And then it's just taken off. It's the #1 music business book right now. And I did an Audible book, dude. I do all the voices. I do. Yeah, there's 3 women. There's a guy from Nimbrit Kanuka. He's from Barbados. There's Sir Daniel Smith, Daniels, Jason. If it's in music, man, I have a hand in it. You know, I publish people, I manage people. I just love wearing different hats, man. And look, it all started right there in New Orleans at our old studio on Terpsichore, you know, right there in the Lower Garden District.
So I'm a huge fan of the creative process. You know, you do anything for a while, and I've been in radio for, it feels like a long time, you know, and I've dabbled in other areas, and the creative process always fascinates me, right? And the fact that you wrote a book on it, well, I think I need to get get a copy of that book. I think I'm going to listen to the Audible version because I want to hear the voices.
But you got to. People are going to. I was laughing. Look, I did it. I don't know. Are we doing the video for this?
Sure.
I did it right in my studio, and I would just stop. I would be laughing. I was like, are these impressions good? And the producer was like, they're amazing. Keep going. I'm like, are you sure? So I'm just seeing all my friends, especially my New Orleans friends, messing with me. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, the creative process always fascinates me because it is hard to keep the spark. You know what I mean? And a lot of people. Yeah. A lot of people get it wrong where they think you have to just sit around and wait for inspiration to hit. And I remember reading an interview with Tarantino, right? And he said he always has the idea floating in his head for a year or two for a movie. And then before he starts to sit down and write the movie, he'll just go and start writing anything just to warm. Yeah. He called it to warm up the pump or warm up the brain and
prime the engine probably or something.
And then he can write. He just wants to get fluid. But it seems like you write all the time. So maybe there isn't that angle to the creativity.
Well, there's, you know, writing and being creative is a muscle just like anything else. So when I'm writing every day with different artists for myself, I'm really writing good stuff because that creative muscle, whatever in my brain is being exercised. You know, but what I write about in the book and what I found out is that business and life and music, it's all connected. And there's certain truths and certain wisdom that everybody successful uses. And I kind of codify those things into 5 different things. And the big thing, like what you're saying, is to stay creative. It can't be a passive thing. You know, when you're really young, when you start off, you're full of inspiration, right? Because, you know, your relationship with your peers and your siblings and your parents and school and that first music and the first heartbreak and the first love and all that, right? But as you continue, inspiration has to have intention. You got to go out and seek it out. So I talk about how to do that, what people do, and collaboration and approaching things that stop you in different angles. It's called changing your attitude. The biggest thing I talk about is daring to be stupid. And it's based on the idea that you'll never come up with anything groundbreaking unless you're prepared to fail. And you can't be worried about looking stupid and falling on your face because the greatest people fail. And then it takes just one yes. So I kind of wanted to just share, hey man, this is what's worked for me in my career and it's worked for so many other people. And I couched it in a really fun story about a struggling songwriter in Music City, Nashville.
Do you find it's hard? Because, you know, we've always talked about it at the radio station with different disc jockeys and stuff. It's like, hey, look, in the break room, wherever we're coming up with our ideas, you're in a safe space. You can say what the hell you want. We can do what we want. But do you find when you're working with artists and, you know, you've got to rep, man, you've got to have the right hat. You got to have the right t-shirt on, man. You find where it's hard to strip all that away and just get down to that artist, that core when you sit down with somebody?
Sometimes, you know, if someone hasn't collaborated a lot. When someone's new to writing, they've never collaborated, then they're guarded, you know, and they're not really sure. They don't really want to be there. And often I'll write with that person and it's their first, like, you know, they've just started co-writing. It's usually just a so-so write. Then I'll encounter them 2 years later and they're used to it and they're good at it, and then it's just awesome. You just check your ego at the door, you throw great ideas out, you really listen. Being creative and collaborating with others is a lot about listening too, because everybody wants to get their idea across. But when you sit back and given that you've surrounded yourself with really talented people, then that's when amazing things happen. Like right now. Can you feel the creative effervescence, Jason?
Yeah. No, I'll come up to Nashville and you and I will sit down and write a song, and I have no musical ability whatsoever. But I think we could come up with something pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, and you just said you got to throw some wrenches into the works. Maybe there is something there.
Well, look, I know. See, right? You're the wrench. No, like the best songwriters I know are the ones that just have no filter, man. They just throw crazy ideas out. And that's how so many times how amazing songs or amazing ideas or technology and stuff, somebody just, said, well, what if I do this, and there's so many examples in life, but in the book too, about how basically the person who teaches the idea of daring to be stupid he's a 28-year-old genius named Sir Daniel Smith Daniels, who was knighted by the Queen at 26 for coming up with a supply chain algorithm. Jason, I made all this shit up. You can't make this up, but I did. But he illustrates, you got to dare to be stupid, and that's a genius talking. So it's a fun book, but more importantly, I'm fired up about Melting Faces next week. Are you going to be there? Are you going to introduce us?
Well, I got to get my people to talk to your people, man. And what we'll do is I'll get there a half hour earlier. You and I sit down and write a song. Then I'll introduce you. And then
we're talking. You know what they say in the business? Write a word, get a third.
Ooh, I love it, dude. A couple more quick questions. I know you probably got, a book to write again or a follow-up part 2 or something like that.
I'm putting the pen down for a minute.
When you sit down and write with artists, like you've got this pilgrimage festival that is so cool, man. I was so excited when you started that. I was like, I'm always cheerleading on the sidelines, man. You don't know I'm there, but I'm cheerleading, man. I'm all for it. And when you sit there and you're like, I've got this person, this person, this person, and you just run around going, hey man, you want to write a song? Hey man, you ready to write a song? Is it hard not to do that all the time?
Well, kind of, yeah, it is kind of hard, but honestly, starting the festival is I'd moved to Franklin, and there's so much, like I said, there's so much of our band in New Orleans. There's so much of me that's New Orleans, and I've taken so many things with me. Me and my partners who are all from New Orleans, our whole idea was to take Jazz Fest and bring it to Middle Tennessee, a multi-genre festival that celebrated a region like New Orleans did. And we've done that in Middle Tennessee. So that was the main idea, doing pilgrimage. I lived here. I wanted to bring something awesome. And there's also, I wanted to be successful and do well as a business. But I also knew that if I do a music festival, I'm suddenly going to have managers of the biggest bands in the world, agents, publishers, calling me up to book the festival. And just as things happen, they say, hey, like Andrew McMahon, have you ever heard of Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He's coming in town. He's coming in town early for Bonnaroo. And I was talking to his manager about pilgrimage, and he was like, well, Andrew's coming in. Why don't you write with him? And I'm like, yeah. So that it does happen, I don't have to push it. It happens naturally because I've also wanted to be very respectful of pilgrimage. I don't want to seem like I'm being too thirsty, and I want to respect those lanes, just like first year of pilgrimage, Better Than Ezra did not play because I was like, I'm not going to give anybody any ammo to say, oh, you heard about that new festival the Ezra guys started? Guess who's playing? You know what I mean?
Right. So no, I got you.
After year one, everybody was like, dude, man, you guys got to play your own festival. You're stupid not to. Then I was like, oh, now we play it every year. But we always go, where do you need us to play? We'll open the festival. It's just kind of that way. But there are a lot of ancillary benefits from doing the festival, and it all works together.
Sure. And that's great, man. And probably as you've gone along and as you've grown through just, from first album to today, you just start picking up on that. You put the radar out and you just go, oh, wait a minute, I could do this now. Ooh, look at me, I'm writing a book. And it just
you really can. And what it does, but you also realize, this from just being in radio and doing different things, being an on-air talent, being a PD, program director, there's a whole other skill set when you put on a new hat. Even though you're in your own business, you're like, oh, I got to learn all about this. You know, like as a musician, I have an agent who books my shows, right? He's in LA. And I have a relationship with him and I love him. We're best friends, but I'm always like, hey man, I need money. Where are the shows? That kind of thing. But then when I'm a promoter, you know, the agent, that relationship completely changes. Now they're the gatekeeper, and I got to go kiss the ring, and they're the artist. They're the prima donna, and they've got the Killers, or they've got Beck, or they've got Zach Bryan, or Sam Fender, and I want to get that artist. So, you know, so I'm like, oh wow, this person's. I thought we were friends. Why are they still charging me so much? I thought I was going to get the friend discount. You don't.
That's a tough putt, man, because you got to keep business and still be friends, you know. And it's like, hey, look, look, you know what? You've probably seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High over the years, right? Not the Fast Times.
I'm getting the Cheap Trick tickets.
Yeah, well, you know, look, I'm Damone, you know, I provide a service, and that service costs money. I can't tell you how many stupid times I've thrown that to bosses about my own personal pay. Look, you want me to do this? I've quoted Damone in business meetings, man.
There's so many great lines from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
So, okay, let's wrap this thing up here. 2 nights, House of Blues, Better Than Ezra. First night, kind of, we get whoever buys a ticket can send in their request, and then you guys are going to play it.
We're going to play it. We're going to be playing deep cuts. We've got Dash Rip Rock, who really influenced our band, who really taught me how to be a great live performer. Bill Davis, I owe a lot to. They're going to be opening. And then night 2, Saturday, May 6th, it's Better Than Ezra and Friends. Some of the marquee people from Jazz Fest are going to be coming and playing with us. It's going to be our hits plus a bunch of covers that we've never done before. And we also have a VIP. There's about 30 tickets left for a VIP event we've got Saturday night. We're going to be also, look, even if you don't like Better Than Ezra, but you like Gibson guitars are going to be given away from the stage. So you don't want to miss this show.
I'm looking forward to that. And then the book is out.
Came out today. The Greatest Song came out today, man. And Audible book is out. You know, you can go onto Spotify and go to Kevin Griffin, The Greatest Song, and it's a 5-song EP it's original songs from the book. And yeah, man, just hustling, brother, hustling, Jason. You know, I tell a story all the time about getting dropped the first time. It was 2001, and we were in our studio in New Orleans in the Lower Garden District, and we got a call. You guys have been dropped from your label. And in 6 short years, we'd gone from being, you know, the hottest band in the country to getting dropped. We ended up getting signed again. But at that point, I realized, like, man, I want to be in this business, the music business forever, but I got to always have different irons in the fire. And that really, I want to write with other people. I want to wear different hats, man. And that's kept me in this business so long. But the main thing, the true love where I'm at home, is being on stage, just like I'll be at House of Blues.